check out today's piece of fan art. We've got Rougierd from Mushoku Tensei, back before he shaved his head. Stereotypes be damned, he looks good this way. I very much respect how loyal and reliable he is to Eris and Rudius. Great fan art. Thank you so much, Sir Anton. Welcome back to OtakuDaiKun. Daichan here. Regrettably, it's time to talk about another case of anime censorship. But don't fret too hard, because I've got 2 totally awesome anime to showcase while we're at it. The thing that really sucks about censorship is how inconsistent it is. Things get censored for the strangest reasons, depending on whoever's in charge getting offended at something, when other times it's completely innocuous. The silliest was definitely in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, where they aged up its characters to 18 and still had the nerve to censor cleavage on a wedding gown. Like, what? A similar incident has occurred recently with the visual novel Type Daydream, published by Laplation. This studio normally makes eroge titles, but have decided to no longer cater their content exclusively to adults. That's fine, I suppose. The issue is that Type Daydream was already created first as an eroge, and they figured they wanted to bring it to the West as an all-ages version, and on Steam no less. Steam is a really weird platform, since they've been known to crack down on visual novels featuring animated minors, but they've also been surprisingly lenient with games like Senran Kagura, allowing XSEED to maintain the game's iconic intimacy mode that Sony rejected. It's that kind of inconsistency that has likely put pressure on Laplation to take extra precautions regarding their international release. According to them, you only get one chance to submit your game for Steam's approval, and since Steam is the biggest PC gaming platform, they really wanted to make sure they got in without trouble. As such, Laplation has overly censored their game to ensure that nothing even conceivably inappropriate gets them rejected. First off, Steam's a bunch of lazy asses for implementing that policy. Since Steam is the one wanting content watered down, it should be up to them to review a game and provide their demands ahead of time so developers don't over-censor their games. Second, one of the changes made to Type Daydream, beyond removing the adult scenes, was changing one of the girls' Seifuku, or school uniform, into a more generic dress that covers her entire legs. That's right, we've reached a point where a schoolgirl's uniform in a school setting is being conceived of as inappropriate. Personally, I find that to be extremely insulting to Japanese culture. That said, the reason why is fairly obvious. While Japanese students obviously wear uniforms to school, these same uniforms are also highly fetishized in adult films as sexy cosplay, just like your stereotypical sexy maid or sexy nurse costumes. For girls, their skirts can be pretty short, no doubt enticing onlookers who enjoy upskirt and panty shots. The sailor uniforms, or Seifuku, also have loose tops that can fly up when in the wind or when jumping. While it's clear these outfits can be found sexy, the reason the censorship is so irritating is that not everything sexy is inherently sexual. In truth, literally anything can be found sexy. Some people are into feet, others into armpits and sweat. Yet, most of the things we find attractive aren't even part of our reproduction, and in isolation certainly aren't inappropriate. However, it seems that society, or at least specific groups, operate off the saying, "It's all fun and games until someone faps." In other words, half the time things are censored, it's not because they're actually obscene, but rather because people are getting turned on by it. It's the pesky male gaze that these groups are trying to snuff out. To an extent, I can understand this. A woman might not want to dress a certain way if it gets all the guys around her hot and bothered. What might be a cute outfit for her can seem corrupted if you realize that dudes are adding it to their spank bank. Problem is, we can't allow censorship and modesty to be how we solve it. Telling someone what they can and can't wear based on how much it entices sleazy behavior is victim blaming. It's the exact same logic when an assault victim comes out, and instead of finding justice, they're scrutinized for what they were wearing, as if they were asking for it. That's not fair for the victim, and it's not how our society should be handling such issues. Rather than addressing the core problem, it instead just polices women's bodies and denies them agency, which is ironic considering women are trying to fight to increase their agency. Equally ironic is that, in the same month as the censorship came to light, an adorably wholesome anime started airing called Akibichan Sailor Uniform. It's about a girl, Akebi, who's always dreamed of going to school in Seifuku after she saw an idol on TV dressed in one. She's one of the few teenagers in her extremely rural community, so the chance to be fashionable is incredibly important to her. Akebi gets her mom to make a Seifuku just like the one she used to wear, and it's this wonderful experience, even after discovering the school she applied for no longer uses that uniform. Nonetheless, her enthusiasm for the outfit is enough that she's given special permission, and the anime is all about her making friends with a class full of girls who accept her. The animation is top-notch, and its vibrant storytelling is admirable. It's the very definition of wholesome. For someone to write this experience off as inappropriate because someone may find it sexy is ludicrous. Now, there are important aspects to consider. The biggest sin in trying to censor this stuff comes down to thought policing. Something being wholesome and something being sexy are not mutually exclusive. As I said, literally anything can be found as sexy to the right person, but that's not necessarily bad. I've heard this saying that men, or people in general, aren't sharks drawn to blood or meat. We are more than capable of behaving responsibly, no matter what turns us on. As such, even if a woman is dressing to look sexy, that's not an invitation for people to hit on her. There are right and wrong ways to approach a girl that are independent from how aroused a guy is. That's just what it means to be a respectable human being. Thus, rather than being upset at a guy for what he finds attractive, it's far more important to raise people to behave properly in the face of such feelings. Naturally, this all applies to women too, but we usually don't hear anyone condemning the female gaze. Looking back on school uniforms, there's nothing wrong with finding them sexy. Perhaps the sight of exposed thighs or a midriff peak totally blow you away. Heck, the girl wearing the uniform might have chosen it to be sexy or appealing, but even then, it's not asking for unwanted harassment. Ultimately, they're in uniform to attend school, make friends, possibly fall in love, and their ability to do so shouldn't be influenced by what other people think. The same can be said for beaches and swimsuits. Swimwear is hot, but that doesn't mean every beautiful woman on the boardwalk is asking to be approached or harassed. They're trying to have fun, and as long as interested parties respect them and their boundaries, all is well. Athletes are oftentimes really gorgeous, and scoring with them might be a dream come true. No harm in pleasuring yourself in the privacy of your own home to that, but it should go without saying that letting that attraction impede on an athlete's ability to compete is unacceptable. Still, you don't go about solving this by denying men their eye candy or dictating a woman's sense of expression. That's not how this works. Instead, focus on the behaviors. No matter how many adult actresses are getting plowed in schoolgirl uniforms, an actual student should be allowed to wear one in a totally separate context. Censoring a girl wearing one in that context is, to me, more offensive than any lewd thoughts they might inspire. With that, I want to bring up a scene from the newly airing anime Sono Bisque Doll wa Koi wo Suru, or My Dress-Up Darling. In just a single episode, it's managed to be both one of the sexiest and most adorable anime out there. It proves everything I've said so far about being aroused yet respectful, and how it's totally possible to do both. It tells the story of Wakana Jojo, a timid young man who loves making dolls as part of his family business. As such, he's great at sewing and making clothes. When this fact gets revealed to Marin Kitagawa, his bold and preppy classmate, she begs him to help her cosplay her favorite characters. Marin is exceptionally beautiful, but what makes Wakana agree to help is her sincere passion for cosplay. They respect each other's passions, and that comes through when it's time for Wakana to take Marin's measurements. To do things right, Marin disrobes, wearing nothing but a stylish swimsuit. As your typical anime teenager, Wakana freaks out, far too embarrassed to take his job seriously. She knows she's exposing herself to him, but it's clear she trusts him as a professional. Turns out, it's embarrassing for her too, adorably so. When Wakana realizes this, he learns to stop panicking. As potentially inappropriate as this might seem, she's just doing what it takes to make the best costume possible. She's relying on him, and so he puts aside his own arousal for a moment to get the job done. Whether they wind up a couple and having sex sometime later is a separate ordeal. I haven't read the manga this is based on after all. I just really appreciate how this anime shows us that looking at and appreciating a girl's body isn't this outrageous, impure thing filled with malice. Perhaps if people weren't so quick to write our own culture or bodies off as inappropriate, we could be exposed to such things without it causing an uproar every time. Overall, I want to stress some points we can take away from this controversy. 1. We really shouldn't demonize attraction. Finding things sexy is totally natural and healthy for humans to do. Rather than policing such thoughts, we ought to police any negative behaviors they may conjure. 2. Practically anything can be sexy, but that doesn't mean its purpose is necessarily sexual. Outfits like swimsuits and school uniforms may help entice someone's arousal, but that doesn't mean the people wearing them are up to no good. Sometimes you're just here to study or play at the beach. 3rd, there's a difference between wholesomely wanting to be found sexy and asking for people to violate your privacy and personal space without consent. So yeah, maybe if Sienna Type Daydream were editing upskirt shots or blatant promiscuity from their game, it would still suck, but at least there'd be an actual sexual reason for doing so. Outright censoring a school uniform for being a uniform you happen to wear at school is just insane. So what do you all think? Do you agree with my points? How about those anime I mentioned? If you're watching them, are you enjoying them the same as I am? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below.
Before I go ahead and roll the credits, I want to give a special shout out to my $10 supporters. Video Gamer 75, Steven Elak, Otaku Mom, Jens Ballman, Mystic Samurai 1983, Freebrick, RNG or Shuffles 1498, Crod, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Nigel, Happy, Sakura-chan, Caitlin P, and SF Giants fan Mike. Thank you all so much. Thanks for watching.
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and
most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of our anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content.
You can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or our YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like exclusive vids and early access.
As always,
celebrate your fandom!